The heart of Camp Shelby, Mississippi. We are at the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum with the long extended Memorial Day weekend approaching. And please, folks, remember the purpose of Memorial Day, and that is to honor and recognize the men and women who served in our armed forces and made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms. And joining us now here at the Element Well Studios is Mark Prine, Colonel Mark Prine, retired, and now the Special Projects Officer for Camp Shelby, also President of the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum Board. Colonel, always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, too. Welcome to Camp Shelby.
Yes, sir. So notice we've had some ceremonies going on today. Always enjoy the fantastic Armed Forces Band.
Yes.
They're great, aren't they?
They're incredible. We are so excited to have them with us today.
And you were telling me that you don't join the military and raise your hand and say, I want to get in the band. You got to have some experience and background in that.
Right. The musicians who are in 41st Army Band, like all military musicians, have to pass an audition before they even talk to them about joining service. So they're much like doctors, lawyers,
sure,
chaplains. They have to have a skill before they can get in.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's planned for the Memorial Day ceremony today?
We had recognition today of the Gold Star families that were here present, and then Andy Wiest spoke about 2 Mississippians who had given their lives in service, and then we recognized our veteran, Gold Star veteran today was Henry Lee Brown from Jackson, who lost his life in 1967 in Vietnam. We have him featured here. He is a Silver Star recipient for his service during Vietnam.
Wow.
Able to recognize him, and that's what we try to do each Veterans Day, is select a Mississippian who has paid the ultimate sacrifice, I should say, on Memorial Day, and recognize them. Yeah,
absolutely. So the Armed Forces Museum, every time we come down here, I am reminded of just how special this place is. So tell us about the various things that are available to the public that should come see the Armed Forces Museum.
Well, the great thing about the museum is it's located here on post at Camp Shelby, so there are other events that you can coordinate when you come to visit with us. We have lots of school groups that come here to tour the museum, but they'll also go and look at the static equipment displays, which is modern equipment that they're using right now that we have set up for them to go through and look. We have a Rails to Trails course here. We've been recently sanctioned by Scouting USA, so 14-mile course here, so you can come and do the 14-mile hike that is required for scouting to come here. We have a driving tour now. We've marked historic locations all throughout post, go all the way back to World War I, all the way through the modern era. We recently, and I mentioned to you earlier, is that we were able to find diagrams of where the French and British officers came here in World War I, laid out trenches for training. We've been able to relocate some of where those trenches are. They're now marked, and they're part of our driving tour.
So was this known all along, Colonel, that these trenches and that this training facility to train World War I officers from Europe existed?
We knew about the officers coming here, and we knew about the trenches being laid out, but it was doing a kind of a deep dive to find out where the trenches were. You've got to imagine during World War II, this place got turned over almost completely, but we were able to find some sections of the trenches that still existed. We used some of the young folks from Youth Challenge Academy help us clear that area out. We've been able to mark it and built a ramp now so you can stand on that ramp and overlook where the trenches were. It's kind of remarkable that 100 and some odd years later that they're still out there.
So I assume then the idea was to simulate what they would encounter in the war area, in the combat areas.
Yes, indeed. When they came here, when Camp Shelby was selected, it had been freshly cut over by the Newman Lumber Company. So it was just wide open ground with a lot of stumps and rough places out there. That's pretty much what the no man's land looked like in France.
Okay.
So.
That's incredible. So tell us about the Youth Challenge Academy. You were just mentioning something about that. I saw them in the ceremonies here just occurring a few minutes ago, so I'm walking out the door. So tell us about that.
They're winding up. That's class number 58. They're winding up their time here at Camp Shelby, finishing up the program that they started in January with us. They'll graduate June the 17th. We're using Temple Baptist Church west of Hattiesburg for their graduation this time. We're really excited for them because this looks like class will have the highest percentage of students to receive a high school diploma this time. They've completed high step and GED testing, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that they're able to break that record.
That is fantastic. Talk about some of the public events you've got going on here at Camp Shelby.
Okay. Well, the great thing about Camp Shelby is it's state-owned, so we're able to do some things maybe you can't do on federal installations. So we're hosting a number of events coming up. We've got the Petal School District coming down, going to use they'll be visiting with us and doing some administrative training down here. Like I said, we've got the Youth Challenge Academy graduation coming up. The American Legion will be down here in June. They have annual college that they have here to where they work with their veterans officials. The VA will be down here in July on the 22nd here at the museum. They're holding a PAC Act claims clinic. So if you were exposed to any kind of contamination overseas, specifically with the global war on terror, they'll be able to come in and help you with that. It could be here in the Grain Gallery. And, of course, we've always got field trips going on. Yeah. So you think school's out, but now there's summer camps and all those kind of events coming down. So we always encourage people to come down and visit Camp Shelby with a field trip. And our friends at the Special Olympics, we go back decades with them and them having their fall games here. So we're looking forward to seeing them again in October.
Yeah. So with respect to the field trips, Colonel, most of the children that would come through here, I'm thinking, really have not been alive when this country was involved in serious foreign wars and conflicts. What's their reaction when they go to this museum and see not only kind of a closer look at these wars that America fought, but also Mississippi's participation in them?
I think they're really amazed, especially when you can bring groups through and you can point out people who are from their hometown or they know,
have a connection.
Yeah. And they're kind of like going, oh, you mean this guy is from Bay St. Louis? That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Or this guy is from Jackson. That's where I'm from. So to have them be able to tie and talk about people from Mississippi, we have students come through here from various places, and we talk about a young man who went to Mississippi Normal College, now Southern Miss.
Yeah.
And students are going, wait a minute, he was in school and he dropped out of school to go. And yes.
Yeah.
So when you're able to tie that to them, and we're looking at younger school students now who are rolling through that were not alive when 9/11 occurred.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of an education process for them as well to understand that whole global war on terror conflict that lasted so long.
Do you feel like they leave here, Colonel, with the respect that should be given to our armed forces, the men and women who served in it in particular?
I think they're very much more aware of what the sacrifice is that the men and women, just those who maybe went and served and came home, but especially those who, for Memorial Day, who gave their lives. When you talk to them and you're able to relate to say, well, this young man was 18 when he was killed, this young lady was 22, and you're talking to people who are pretty much the same age they are. Yeah. They really makes an impact for them.
It's important. We've got to continue to keep that legacy alive, even though, again, we're fortunate we haven't had any serious conflicts that have pulled lots of our young people into the military and travel abroad and end up giving their lives. We still need to understand that and remember that, and that's what we celebrate on Memorial Day.
We do, and the fact that many of them are understanding that most of the people that they're dealing with really since Vietnam are all volunteers. That they volunteered to do this, as opposed to being called to the service by their nation. They raised their right hand free. Yeah,
that's true. And you mentioned Andy Wiest. We've got Dr. Wiest coming on the program later on today. Look forward to talking to him. I mean, he's really a scholar about our history and war.
He really is. I was at the Army War College, and when they're teaching out of a book that you gotta go, wait a minute, I don't live far from that guy. He's a really, really wonderful asset.
That's pretty cool. So talk about the funding sources for the Armed Forces Museum. How does that work?
Well, the state is very generous in being able to help us with our staff. Camp Shelby is very generous in helping us with our utilities, but the maintenance that we have and changing of displays here is all done through our foundation. So we reach out to corporations, individuals across the state to help us fund and update our displays. We were just received a very generous donation from Ingalls, so we're going to be taking the Rosie the Riveter, Miss Vera Anderson, her display. We found some videotape of her in the welding competition in the 1940s. So we're changing that, putting a screen up now so that we can highlight her in the home front effort.
So cool.
And so we always are looking for any kind of companies or individuals who would like to participate and help us maintain the displays here and update the displays. We're always looking for those contributions.
And you serve as the president of the foundation board.
Yes, I do. And that's one of my primary jobs, is to reach out to groups and individuals across the state to help them, bring them into the fold here to help us fund the museum.
Yeah, that's awesome. Once again, folks, if you haven't been here, you got to visit. It will just blow you away how well done the exhibits are, how authentic they are, and it just it's an education. It's like years of education of history crammed into a short period of time as you walk through this place. It's so well done. Congratulations, Colonel. Thank you, sir, of course, for your service as always, and thank you for having us here today. It's our pleasure. Appreciate it, Colonel.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.